Do you know how to manage your money? Well, according to a 2021 survey by the National Financial Educators Council, when asked, do you think high school students should take personal finance courses in high school? 83.3% of 1,502 people from across the U.S. responded definitely yes or yes. So the people have spoken, and the people want financial literacy. This is something that really strikes me as interesting because I think arguably, there are a few major topics that affect almost everyone at some point in life, and those are health, relationships, money, and then there's education that's woven across all of these. Yet concepts like taxes, credit scores, and interest remain these ominous, vague concepts for so many people, especially young people. I thought to myself, what would have been useful for me to know? So I read through various resources and books, and today I'll discuss 3 takeaways that I learned about getting ahead with personal finances, as described by these resources. My goal in this video isn't to tell you or anyone what to do, because personal finance is personal for a reason. Rather, the point is to share my takeaways that stood out to me when it came to getting ahead with your personal finances. So let's start with the rule of 72. This is for all my formula fans, and even if you're not necessarily a fan of formulae, this one is not too scary. Now, do you know how long it would take for your money to double? Of course, there isn't one single exact answer for this, but the rule of 72 provides a formula that gives us a rough estimate. Think of it as a mental math shortcut. Who came up with it? So the rule of 72 has been around since 1494, when a mathematician named Luca Pacioli mentioned it in his book Summa de Arithmetica. Apparently, Pacioli didn't explain exactly why the rule works, so it's possible that it was around before then too. What is it exactly? Well, the formula looks like this, where we have T and R, which is the interest rate or rate of return. Basically, the formula can be used to get an approximation of how many years it'll take to double your money if you plug in your interest rate. You could even assume an annual interest rate or annual rate of return. Something that I think is important to keep in mind is that this is an approximation, and that you'd need to do more complex logarithmic calculations to get more accurate figures. As another quick side note, the rule primarily works with interest rates in the range of 6 to 10%. So what? Why should you care? Well, this is more than a cool piece of trivia that you can whip out at a party. It's a formula that helps to simplify money decisions and has a few important applications. Consider the average savings account. Taking a look at bankrate.com, the national average yield for savings accounts is 0.59% APY as of May 15th, 2024. Plugging this into the formula, if your savings rate is 0.59%, it would take, well, that long to double your money. Yikes. But maybe you want to be younger than Albus Dumbledore by the time your money doubles. So check this out. Let's try plugging in other variables, like 1%, which would take 72 years to double, 3%, which would take 24 years, 6%, which takes 12 years, 9%, which takes 8 years, and 12%, which takes 6 years. This means that the higher the interest rate, the less time it takes for your money to double. Knowing the rule of 72 could be the difference between someone's money doubling in the time it takes to complete a lengthy PhD or every century. Next, I want to talk about defining the cost of success and being willing to pay for it. So this takeaway is a tip from The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. If you haven't read The Psychology of Money, it provides a different take on personal finance by exploring how decisions are influenced more by human behavior and emotions rather than by charts and logical calculations. In one of the chapters, it talks about the cost of success, which can sometimes be invisible to outsiders. If you've ever watched Shark Tank or maybe even Dragon's Den if you're in Canada and thought to yourself, well dang, I could have built a freeze-dried donut company, I could have scaled it and landed a $1 million deal. Or maybe you've scrolled through an influencer's page and thought, companies pay tens of thousands of dollars just for a few food and vacation pics? Easy. Well, that might be easy to say on the sidelines, but unless you're actually in the situation, the challenges might be less visible. Listen, everything that we strive for, whether it's an academic goal or a career or a fitness goal or a money target, frankly, these all come with a price, or rather a fee. Maybe you've heard from friends or on social media that you need to get into stocks, and if you're not investing, you're seriously missing out. But successful investing isn't all gold and doubloons and hockey stick trends. There is another side of the coin. Successful investing also means dealing with volatility, fear, uncertainty, and regret. You know, One way that I think about this is someone who starts a successful business. Sure, they might make millions, but the road to millions can be littered with volatility because you don't have a stable paycheck, like with a 9-to-5 job, for example, fear that you might fail and then everyone would point and laugh, and uncertainty about what next month or even next year will bring for your business, as well as regret over, say, going with one product launch over another. And the thing is, if you see a decline in your investments, it can feel like a penalty or a fine. And since people don't like penalties, you might try to avoid penalties moving forward. If instead you see the decline as your entry fee for long-term success, you can ride out the volatility and uncertainty and stick around long enough to see potentially sizable gains. I mean, I remember going to an amusement park. It was a lot of fun actually, and it was a mostly overcast day with a little bit of rain, so the crowds weren't as bad. I remember the cherry blossoms were also in bloom, which is besides the point, but it did make for some beautiful scenery. Anyway, I screamed on some roller coasters, ate some amusement park food, and of course, there was an admissions ticket fee to get in. But I didn't see that as a penalty or a fine for spending a fun day at the amusement park. And when you buy a ticket, there's no guarantee that it won't rain. In fact, it did rain the day that I went. The key message here is that it's about understanding that there's a fee or a tax when it comes to financial success. And it's up to you to define that cost for the success that you want and then be willing to pay for it. Next, let's talk about status symbols, or rather avoiding status symbols. Quick story first. So I was sitting at a Starbucks planning out this video, and at some point I looked out the window and I saw a Lexus, which can be considered more of a luxury vehicle, and it was parked outside. So I started to kind of think of the life of the driver, right? And I thought, okay, well, I wonder what they do to afford that kind of a car. Do they live in a big fancy house? Do they have a fortune invested in stocks? And that got me thinking, well, wait, what's the connection between, say, a Lexus or a Ferrari or a Versace belt and wealth? The Millionaire Next Door was first published in 1996, and the first paragraph of the introduction is definitely attention-grabbing. Check it out. It says, 20 years ago, we began studying how people became wealthy. Initially, we did it just as you imagine, by surveying people in so-called upscale neighborhoods across the country. In time, we discovered something odd. Many people who live in expensive homes and drive luxury cars do not actually have much wealth. And if we take a look at this chart, you can see the percentage of low, medium, and high-income individuals who buy luxury. I should point out that there's nothing inherently wrong with enjoying or purchasing luxury items. After working hard and doing what you need to do, it's rewarding to enjoy the fruits of your labor after all. And I'm also not saying that there's a mutually exclusive relationship where someone who owns a pair of Prada sunglasses or a Lamborghini is actually secretly broke. In some cases, dressing designer might actually help. The issue arises if you fall into the trap of the hedonic treadmill and end up caught in an earn and consume treadmill from which you can't escape. We work hard, even get a 6-figure job, and earn a high income so that we can buy a flashy car. We hope it'll impress the neighbors and maybe our friends. Before we know it, our bank account is in the red. So instead of lavishly spending money on expensive status symbols like luxury cars and designer clothes that they can't afford just to flaunt to others, this book points out that millionaires prioritize saving and investing their money to achieve financial security. But hey, if something is important to you and it's not going to put you at financial risk, then it may very well be money well spent. Next, what if I told you that there's something that you can do to make sure you're financially secure even if your car breaks down or you have an unexpected expense? To do that, you need to know what the wealthiest people do with their money. Click here to find out more about emergency funds so that you can start today. And as always, if you give this video a like, it lets me know what to make more of so I can keep making content that's hopefully helpful and fun to watch. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye!